Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Football-Oranje. We're here tonight after Bosnia 0, Netherlands 0. Thanks for joining us from wherever you are in the world or whenever you're watching us as well, whether you're watching right now with us live or a few days after we've recorded this. Now, before we get into the game, we've been hearing about how much you've been enjoying our content recently. If that is you, thanks for watching and supporting as you have been. Don't forget to like this video again tonight, subscribe to us if you're new, and if you really do want to support what we do at Football-Oranje, you can still purchase one of our very own Football-Oranje wristbands that look like this with the Euro 2020 on them, and I'll leave links for that in the comments once the stream is finished. So if you really would like one of those, you can also just Google Football-Oranje wristbands and it does come up. But yeah, that's a way of supporting us. We'd have a Patreon page, for example. Anyway, let's get into the game. Is Bosnia 0, Netherlands 0. Mike, what did you make of it?
Dreadful. Yeah, dreadful. It's what we expected from De Boer. I mean, when we said it, he plays dreadful, boring, conservative football. It's a big reason why Atlanta United replaced him. We knew it was coming, but you know, the last two performances, it's just uninspired. I said it on Twitter. The big problem Netherlands have at the moment is they have no creativity whatsoever in midfield. There's no one to create chances whatsoever, and when you do create chances, you've got a front line of Luke de Jong, Quincy Promes, who was awful today, and then he stayed on the pitch, and then you got Ryan Babel coming on, and missing sitters in the last minute. It's worrying. Yeah, it's going to take a big man to change it, because it seems that Frank de Boer just wants to stick with what Ronald Koeman was doing, but he's not Ronald Koeman, and he's proved that in the last two games he can't get the best out of these players. And again, that's two games in a row where Kevin Strickman's not played. He said that Kevin Strickman's so inspirational off the field, that's why he's there, but he's taken the place of somebody that could have helped in midfield, a more creative player. And then you look at the options, even today on the bench, you're like, Steven Berghuis, who's in great form for Feyenoord, and he did look good when he came on, changed the game a little. But why is he not starting and Quincy Promes is starting when he's playing that dreadfully? Why did he wait so long to take him off? Why did Malen come off when Luke de Jong clearly wasn't working? Up front, he barely touched the ball. You could have played a more dynamic forward line. I don't see how it changes. I don't see who's going to make the tactical changes. I don't see who's going to bring in some sort of inspiration. I don't see who's going to get the best out of these players. I think this is just the way we've got to deal with it now. The KNVB aren't going to sack him after two games. They're going to make any big changes. So this is what we're stuck with. And yeah, I dread to think what it's going to be like against Italy.
That's right. If things go wrong again, it makes you think: could something really dramatic happen in November or in March, where Frank de Boer's got to go? Because if this football continues, the KNVB can't be that confident then going into the Euros that things are going to suddenly turn around when the tournament starts. Anyway, Mike, I have to agree with some of the things you said there. Like, the forward line was the problem tonight. I don't think it was a defence. It was actually pretty strong. We had some good last-ditch defending from Van Dijk, Dumfries as well tonight. Going forward too, Dumfries had the room on the right side, but linking up with Malen, like I said on Twitter, I don't think there was actually a plan. It didn't seem like there were any ideas that Frank de Boer put in place that got the best out of Malen, de Jong, and Promes. In the midfield, I think that De Roon and de Jong, we've been quite critical of them playing together, and only they should play together in those bigger games. But tonight, the Netherlands did have plenty of possession, plenty of the ball. You could see that De Boer didn't want to take one of those two players off, because he knew that with the ball, they could be more harmful. As soon as you take one of those guys off, Bosnia can hurt you on the counter-attack like they were threatening to this evening. So De Boer didn't want to take that risk. I can kind of understand that, because the game was so tight. But with those front four players, something has to change. Something has to be better. I couldn't help think that Valverde could have done a better job in place of de Jong tonight in that front role. If you're going to play a target man, you've got to put the balls up to him. If you're not going to play a target man, play differently. Use Marlen's pace and put him through the middle. But it just seemed like there was much of a muchness tonight, and he's just relying upon the qualities of those individual players. Promes can't do it all by himself with that left wing. He plays against those weaker Eredivisie defences sometimes, and that can show that it can overinflate his qualities, I think, to produce something from nothing. He's a good player, though, Promes. He just needs more support. Again, more tactical ideas in around that box to try and get him in. Wasn't good enough tonight. And we're seeing in the comments as well, there's so many that I'm not sure I can put them up on screen tonight, but if you do have something to say, please do post a live comment or a comment after the game is finished. We got loads of comments in our last one against Mexico. That was only a friendly. Let's get some of them on screen and we'll have a little chat about some of the things you'll notice in. No cutting edge tonight and no energy from the Dutch. Yeah, the Bosnia's left side or the Netherlands' right side was wide open. So Dumfries and Marlon had all that room, but they weren't doing a lot there. And this guy thinks that Robben would have done a better job on the right wing. Mike, is a team crying out for someone like Robben, even in his current state at Groningen? Or does that just show how desperate the Netherlands are right now?
Yeah, I think you can see that there's a lack of creativity, there's a lack of something different in the side. I think Frankie de Jong has that cutting edge, that little bit of spark to beat a man, but nobody else does on the pitch. You got like players like Malin and Promise tonight. They wouldn't take anyone on. They wouldn't do anything special. They wouldn't create a chance. Robben's he's unpredictable, and you didn't get any of that from the Dutch attack today. It was so predictable, so lackluster, so lacking in energy, lacking in ideas. You have to wonder what De Boer is actually saying to these attackers. If you're going to play Luke de Jong, you get crosses into the box. Netherlands didn't get any crosses into the box. They didn't even try and get any crosses into the box. So what was the tactic? You just don't know. Somebody like Robben is also a leader on the pitch. If it's not going well, he shouts at players. There's no shouting. There's nobody getting angry. Nobody lamenting the fact that no crosses are coming in. Luke de Jong should be screaming at the fullbacks to get the ball in the box, but he doesn't because he isn't that type of player. Yeah, I think they missed Memphis tonight. They missed a bit of spark up front. Memphis can take a ball past someone. None of them could do it tonight. If you offered me the choice, of course I'd put Robben on the right wing, but it's not going to happen. You got to try and find somebody else. Said it in Twitter earlier, they're crying out for a Sneijder or a Van der Vaart, somebody that can create something out of absolutely anything. Van Adem's not a 10. He doesn't play as a 10 for Liverpool. He's not that type of player anymore. So trying to make him the focal point of the midfield is stupid. Donny van de Beek's not the same as Van der Vaart either. He doesn't create much. He's more of a what we saw from like Davy Klaassen. He gets into the box and gets on ended chances. He doesn't create. That's what Netherlands are missing. They're missing somebody to make chances. Someone like Hakim Ziyech did for Ajax. Hatteran could have been that. He's lost his place in the PSG lineup, so there's no justification to play him. He's injured as well, so he can't. But we need somebody like that to come through. Right now in under 21s, you don't really have that either. Maybe somebody like Cody Gakpo in the future could be that sort of something different, or even Kadioglu. At least he's a creator. Just adding something different to the midfield because Koeman got the best out of Van Adem when he was in charge, but De Boer can't.
No,
he just didn't work in midfield tonight, and they don't create anything. So that's the biggest issue for me. They need somebody in that 10 position that's actually going to create chances.
Hakim Ziyech is such a massive miss for the Dutch national team. Because a player like him right now would be massive. Let's get some more comments on screen. Moment of Truth says that there's much discussed tonight that these kind of games demonstrate the weak areas. It's the forward players at the moment. And he has another comment saying that why he's another new one, consistent with Babel. Yeah, it's a surprise to us too. And that miss at the end, how painful was that? He sort of sliced, didn't he?
If you're a national team coach of the Dutch national team and you think that bringing on Babel with a few minutes to go is going to change the game, you have no right to be in charge of the Netherlands because what's he thinking? He's got Stengs, he's got even Van de Beek. If Van de Beek was in that chance, even Stengs, it probably would have been a goal. It's desperate times. I'd even kept Malin on the pitch rather than putting Babel. It's not good.
No. Abdul's got a question about Wijnaldum, that he doesn't think he's playing that well in the team at the moment. And Promes too. Why not replace him with Stengs? How can we beat Italy with this performance?
Okay.
Alex, there came to be a weak and useless and this unhealthy fixation with Ajax players is unacceptable. Well, at least it's the development play tonight. It's one positive. Dumfries is awful. How many times in that first half did he cross waywardly? Yeah, I'm not much critical about Dumfries tonight. I think he was an improvement on Hartberg from the previous match. What did you think about Dumfries' performance, Mike? I'll just get a few more comments on the screen whilst you're discussing that.
I think he did all right. He didn't do enough. I think the right back slot is just up for contention at the moment. I don't think either Hartberg or Dumfries have really done themselves credit in the past 2 games. Hartberg was awful against Mexico. Dumfries was just all right today. Didn't really do much.
True.
Yeah, his end product wasn't good tonight. That's what you need to see from him. In a game where you play somebody like Luke de Jong, you rely on your fullbacks and your wingers to get crosses in, and accurate crosses, and it didn't happen tonight. So you can't say that Blind or Dumfries had good games because they didn't contribute anything to attack.
Yeah, Blind didn't have the great game off the left side. Didn't really link up with Promes, but Dumfries and Marlon did link up. I'm going to go on the side of that Dumfries did okay tonight, but just needed a bit more guidance with what he's meant to do on that right wing. It's not always going to come from the player. Quite a lot of negativity still I'm putting up on the screen there. How come Strootman's still on the bench? Yeah, I think he's just there to be that kind of character in the dressing room. But if you're losing all the options in midfield because of players taking up these slots, that's not going to be very helpful when you're trying to change a game. Zero fluidity in the attack, despite the fact that quite a few of those players have played together for quite a while now with Oranje. Wijnaldum pulls on a Liverpool shirt, 8 out of 10. Pulls on the Netherlands shirt, goes to a 4 out of 10. Some stuff about the tactics here in the comments. Nothing going forward. Why can't we create any chances? We've got good players. Mike, how can you answer that question? Why can't these 4 players create decent chances? Or is it, as we've been saying, that Frank de Boer just simply isn't getting the best out of these players? What is it something that the chemistry between them, or is de Boer just clueless?
It's the tactics. De Boer used to be a defender. You don't know what his attacking tactics are. He's been criticised for it all his career as a manager. He doesn't get the best out of attackers. He can do the defensive work. I don't know what his assistants are doing. In the lead up to the Euros, Ruud van Nistelrooy's joining the coaching team. Maybe he'll help, but right now there doesn't seem to be anyone that can actually get the forward line actually playing together and looking like they actually have a clue of what they're doing. So I said there's no plan. I didn't see any plan tonight. I didn't see as if they've done the homework to be like, right, this is the way to get to Bosnia. This is a team that played 120 minutes in midweek against Northern Ireland and went out of the Euros, even ranked lower in Scotland, which is embarrassing. And Netherlands didn't even come close to scoring. I know they have done right in the Nations League so far. They drew their opening game against Italy, but yeah, tonight was awful. I think we've seen from de Boer, that's 2 games in a row where we've not scored. He can't do something with his attackers, and I think that you look at him again. It's the midfield. There's no one in that midfield that creates chances. If you look at Wijnaldum, De Roon, and De Jong for their clubs, they don't get assists. They don't do it. We need somebody that creates chances. If you had, say, a Ziyech or a Hatcher and a Kadioglu, somebody that's actually creative, then we might be better. But we don't have that at the moment. And Donny van de Beek's not that player either. We need to find someone that can create something. It's hard. Even playing maybe Calvin Stengs at a 10, he's got that creative. He's got that energy. He's got a free ball on him. So maybe something like that. Just be a bit more creative. Something tactically needs to change because right now it's not good enough.
But then Calvin Stengs hasn't been playing that well for RZ recently, so you can see why Frank de Boer might not choose him. But at the same time, what's Ryan Babel done in the last year or so? That's why it's so baffling, isn't it? Why can't Stengs be given a chance for the bench instead of Babel? It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, AJ Nix was even pointing out that Van der Beek wasn't even given a sub role today when he is usually involved in the matches, whether he starts or comes off the bench. And we're looking for something in and around a congested penalty area. Van der Beek's surely that player who can offer that.
Yeah, the fact he didn't even try and change the midfield at all. He took off the wing backs and the 2 wingers. He you seem to think that midfield was fine, whereas somebody like Van de Beek in there would have maybe done something a bit different, especially towards the end when the Netherlands were actually creating chances.
And the comment here is to do with the fullbacks, and that Van Aanholt maybe could do with the running the team. And players, keep up the comments. One little appreciation post, another masterclass performance, and the GOAT. He said it was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you could concentrate more on playing football than his haircut, then you might actually be a decent player.
John says that they're repeating the same mistakes at the moment. They're relying upon Babel and Luke to hold the team. Yeah, not a lot on the flanks and impotence front of goal. Agreed. Another comment about Babel and his hair.
I mean, that's a good reason as any.
What else have we got? Should have gone Van Gaal.
Too late now.
Yeah, we're trapped. Van Gaal in. Another comment about the manager there, that Owen Koeman could be a good manager. I mean, just given his previous roles as manager, I'm not sure he'd be an option. But then it's hardly can't get much worse than De Boer at the moment, can it?
No.
And as I said last time, Marlon needs to be played as number 9. Yeah, what did you make of Marlon on the wing tonight, Mike? And would you be tempted to play Luke de Jong again as a main striker if he can improve his performance? I guess you'd have Memphis back, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you got Memphis back for next game, so he's got to be back in the central position. Marlon plays for the middle of PSV, is where he's best, but he's played on the wing before for the Netherlands. He's got some pace. He thought he would do all right there tonight, but yeah, he just couldn't get involved. He'd probably be the most dangerous out of the 3 of them. If I had to pick one out of Promise, de Jong or him, who thought I had the best game, I'd probably still say Marlon. But yeah, I'd be curious to see a game where maybe Memphis plays at the 10. He does it for Lyon. Memphis behind Marlon might be quite interesting. That's an option for De Boer. But I think that Memphis has got such an untouchable role in this national team now that he is just going to keep playing as a striker.
Keep the faith, Dara. Yeah, how are you looking forward to the next game against Italy, Mike? This is, of course, a match reaction, but we can serve this as a bit of a preview as well for the Italy game. What kind of things can De Boer change? I mean, it's difficult saying, isn't it? What would you do and what would De Boer do? Because, of course, they're going to be very different things. This feels rather like before when we've had managers in charge of the Netherlands, where what we think and what the managers think are totally different, and what they're getting is not good. They're not results. So, what do you anticipate De Boer will change against Italy? Because he did mention that if players weren't performing up to the level he expects, he will drop them. Babel started the Mexico game and didn't start this one tonight. Does that mean he's further driven away from the team given his miss? What do you think will change?
Well, I've got 2 not enforced changes, but I've got 2 big changes that are coming. Memphis Depay will be back, and Martin de Roon is suspended, so he's got to pick somebody else to partner Frankie de Jong. If it was me, it'd be Koop Meiners. That's not going to happen. It's going to be either Van de Beek or, God forbid, Kevin Strootman will come in there to add some more solidity to the midfield. I think he might be a bit scared of Italy overrunning the midfield, so he might put Strootman alongside Frankie de Jong. So with Memphis back, you'd think the attack might be more coherent. I think if he judges it on tonight's game, I can see Berkhuis starting. But I think he'll stick with Promise. I don't think he's going to start Calvin Stengs in a game. I hope he wouldn't start with Babel. I don't think Marlon did enough. In De Boer's eyes, I think he probably did, but in De Boer's eyes, I don't think Marlon did enough on the wing to justify starting against Italy. So, yeah, I think there'll be a few changes, but maybe not the right ones.
Koop Meiners did well against Mexico, so do you think that he could be an option though for De Boer in that midfield? I can't see him playing Strootman. I think that he would go with something like Koop Meiners, de Jong, And then I don't know about a third defensive midfielder, but yeah, I mean, maybe he'll just stick with Wijnaldum and just try it all again. And that makes you wonder if the Netherlands lose again, they don't score again, that the KNVB will start to scratch their heads and think, maybe was this the wrong appointment? The Crystal Palace went a good number of games without scoring. You don't want to see the same happen again for the Netherlands, but it's certainly looking that way at the minute. Yeah, what do you anticipate that happens in this Italy game? Do you think it's just going to be another flat performance? The players still look like they're trying. Like Van Dijk still was trying really hard to defend tonight, and I don't think you'll ever go as far saying these players won't play for their manager, because ultimately they're playing for their country, and that's obviously a great source of pride for these players, particularly Memphis. But at what point do you think, it's another flat performance against Italy tonight, that the KNVB will start to point fingers at De Boer?
I can't see them beating Italy. I think the performance was, I guess, hypocritical, since De Boer in his press conference made a big deal of the fact that the game against Italy was really poor and he didn't have a plan B and he was going to change everything.
Exactly.
So if they get beat more than 1-0 and Netherlands look absolutely terrible, then it's going to blow up in De Boer's face. But then I can see him worming his way out of it by just saying, well, Netherlands have a terrible record against Italy, that's another one. Not really his fault, it's one of these things. And then he'll make a big deal of the fact that this was only his first time with a national team, and that next time he'll be picking players differently, and then the next time he'll come around, he'll pick the same players. But yeah, I think he's gone out for this one, because you can say that it's his first time training with the team. He doesn't have enough time to make them gel towards his vision. So yeah, we'll probably get beat by Italy on Wednesday, and then nothing will really happen, because he'll just say he didn't have enough time to get the team playing the way he wants. It'll be better in November. But if it's not better in November, then what happens? That's the big question.
Yeah.
Are there any players that weren't in the squad right now that are going to be in there by November? Anyone that's going to break into it? It's hard to say, because there's not that many really coming through in terms of attacking midfielders or forwards. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to the game against Italy. I think it's going to be a bad result. I think it's going to be another loss, and then I don't think anything's going to happen from that. So it's right now, after being so infused by the national team under Koeman, and it's so exciting and looking forward to the Euros, it's all just a bit flat now. This just seems like it's back to Danny Blind performances. This is back to hitting performances, and you start to look at the team again and go, is it as good as what we thought it was? Is it really a favourite for the Euros that we're making it believe under Koeman? I'm doubtful now, and doubtful that the squad has that many options now. And yeah, if you're still bringing on Ryan Babel, then you've got no chance. So yeah, things need to change by November. I think if Van de Boer sweeps it out and takes out Babel, takes out Strittman, and goes completely different, then I would say that was a good choice by him, but I just can't see it happening.
It's a scary thought that they could go all this time for the Euros in poor form and then just get tumbled out the Euros and De Boer still in charge. I can't see that happening, and something's either got to change or De Boer's going to go. By the end of the year, De Boer would have had 6 games in charge. Yeah, you can see the first few games he needs a bit of time with the team. Then he gets another 3 games, and if it's still poor, then you have to start really thinking about another change before it's too late. On the other hand, De Boer doesn't really need a lot of time to settle in, because he's trying to continue going what Ronald Koeman started, all of that hard work that Koeman put in with those players to make that style. It's all going to be in vain if De Boer's going to change that again, changing the attack. For me, he shouldn't be changing a lot at all. And yeah, the chances of him going for the Euros, quite likely for me at this stage. I've got a few more comments to rattle through. Another one to do with the manager. Would you be happy if Erwin van der Looy became the manager? No, but he's doing an okay job with the under-21s. I'm assuming you'd agree with me there, Mike, that you don't think you'd want him in charge of the senior side?
No. The under-21s are doing well at the moment. They're probably going to reach the European Championships. They got, apart from Portugal, they got a rather easy group. They're basically winning the games that they should be winning. I didn't think they were very good against Gibraltar the other day. They only won 5-0, which 5-0 on paper looks good, but against a team that Dashai should probably be beating 8 or 9. And yeah, I think he needs to prove himself a bit more before he'd get a job at the national team. Maybe if you go to Euros under 21s that will win it, then we can say, right, this is the guy who's got to bring through the next generation, like England have done with Gareth Southgate. But we'll see. Not right now, but maybe in the future.
Yeah, good point. Roy says that De Boer will be out by November. Like I think might happen still. We need to change manager now to avoid a disastrous Euros run. Let's give De Boer a chance. I think if you give him to the end of November, then you'll have a really good idea whether this is true or not. What we're thinking now, that this is not a good appointment. Alex was asking whether De Boer's lost a changing room. But I mean, have you noticed any signs of that, Mike, on the pitch yet?
No.
No.
I think that because De Boer's kept everything the way that Koeman had it, all the backroom staff are exactly the same. I don't think it would have changed anything yet. I think that the players that are still in the squad, they're still playing, will be happy with De Boer's appointment because they're still playing. I think Ryan Babel's probably over the moon that somebody came in that didn't want to change much, because not everyone's coach wanting to get fans on side would get rid of him straight away. So I think he's come in, he's basically just tried to keep everything the same as what Koeman did. He's obviously not the same guy, he's not the same sort of manager, so he can't do that, but I think the players might be quite happy now. But if the defeats start coming, then the players won't want to take the blame, they'll want to put it on somebody else, and that's when the finger pointing will start happening. Especially if De Boer starts finger pointing as well and starts calling out players, we might see some cracks coming.
No, that's true. Talking of the under-21s, another comment here from Rob. Which under-21s should be called up next time? Zafat, Baka and David have looked good to me lately. Boadu as well, still in the squad, isn't he? There's quite a few players that seem to be doing very well there, and they've had some crushing wins as well, led mainly by those RZ younger players recently. And I think most of those will be in the squad in the next year or so. Do you think there's any immediate players for the national side, though, Mike, from those under-21s? Koopmeiners was in there, but is now, of course, in the senior side. Any of this?
For me, I mentioned his name earlier on. Cody Gakpo's having a great start to the season for PSV. He's one that I think if he keeps improving, then I'd give him a shot. He's got a pace, he's got a direct running, he can score goals. I don't see why not. Danny DeVitt, not for me. I think he's just another type like a Van de Beek or a Klaassen. I think he's that similar sort of number 10. It's the same as somebody like Goose Till. It's the same sort of player. He's not creative. He just sometimes gets on the end of chances and score goals. Other than that, right now, you're looking at the best players in the under-21 side still being defenders, and that's not the area we want to really change at the moment. We've seen players like Delrason come through and get a couple of caps, but he's not really playing for Hertha Berlin at the moment. Boadu, he starts scoring more goals for AZ. He's not really done that so far this season before he can get a chance. Xerxes not playing for Bayern Munich, so he's not going to get a chance. One that I am intrigued about is Noah Lang. If he starts playing for Club Brugge and starts performing, he might come into the equation because he is something a bit different. We'll see how he does in Belgium before we can start saying if he deserves a call-up.
Yeah, on that note about Noah Lang, I really am disappointed that he's left Ajax, or at least felt like he had to leave Ajax because he wasn't going to get a chance in the first team, because I think he's going to be a good player, and Bruges got a good player in their hands there, and I'm sure that he'll probably get another chance from Bruges to bigger side again in the future. We mentioned earlier about a coach who would have the same style as Koeman. Who would that be then? This guy's asking. And I still think Louis van Gaal would have been that guy to have carried that on, but then with the players at his disposal, he might not have gone with them so well. Other than that, I don't see what was wrong with appointing someone, say, from the Eredivisie, who was just going to be a safe-ish pair of hands, who wasn't going to pull up many trees, but sort of keep it all going. But I guess I noticed some of the names linked with the job, they were all Dutch, but also they were people who are very experienced and are a name, whereas it wasn't going to be someone kind of an average manager sort of coming in, seeing what they're made of. It had to be someone who knows the national team quite well. unfortunately, then it sort of rules out those managers in the Eredivisie. Arne Slot was one of those, but he's not having a great start to season with RZ. But then I suppose you couldn't have really have asked Erik ten Hag or Dick Advocaat at Ajax and final, because they're safe in their positions. They don't really want to move on yet. At this stage of the season, they've just started the season with their clubs. But there would have been two options for me to have led the side. Anyone else who you just are a bit gutted didn't become the national team manager?
Yeah, I was on how I said that during the time, but based on these two games and based on what's happened since Koeman's left, I think that they need a personality. They don't need another tactical man. They've already got that with the coaches. The assistants are all tactical coaches. They're not man managers. Koeman was a man manager. I mean, the comments from when he left, the assistants came out and said basically that he left all them in charge of tactics, and then a couple of days before the game, he'd come in and be like, right, we'll go with this one. Then he would speak to the players and get them G'd up for it. That's what you need. You need somebody that's going to come in, get the players fired up. De Boer's not that man. De Boer's the man that's going to stay in the background, sort of be quiet, maybe show off a little, maybe be a bit arrogant, and not inspire the players. You need somebody that's going to come in and actually get them riled up. So yeah, maybe a Henk ten Cat Ruud partnership might have done that. Maybe Ruud might have been the man to actually bring something else to the dressing room. Maybe it's a personality that could come in and shook it up. A Seedorf, somebody that knows the players, somebody wants to get stuck in, somebody wants to G them up, and let somebody else deal with the tactical side. Because right now I've got a bunch of people focusing on different tactics that aren't working, and there's nobody actually helping the players or help getting them to the side and bashing their heads together. What Koeman would have done. That's why we saw so many comebacks in second halves from the ones under Koeman, because he was good at that. He was good at G'ing the players up in the dressing room. So yeah, it's too late now, and it's done. It's done. I can't see the KNVB sacking De Boer. I wish they would do it by November. That'd be great, but I can't see it.
Early Christmas present then.
That'd be great, but yeah, I can't see it. We all knew this was going to happen. I think as soon as he was appointed, everyone went, "Oh no!" It's getting proven that way. He's not changed anyone's opinion so far. And that's the biggest point. Only the KNVB would appoint us because the KNVB are dinosaurs and they don't want to change things. People in charge right now don't have a clue, and this just proves it.
And one of the names that's there mentioned in the comments after we said that was Jaap Stam. I don't think we want Stam as manager though. Given his last
America,
yeah. How about Hullet and Rijkaard together? That could be interesting. Could still happen, of course, if we get some of us who are watching right now, and I think that it could be by the end of November if things continue the way they're going. Yeah, and this is the thing. Many of us here predicted this debacle. We're going backwards. That's it. Yeah, we thought this would happen. Why can't the management see this as well? The board of a team. I think we're gonna finish there, Mike. Just one last thing before we do go, and that is the Italy game. What do you think your prediction is then for the game? Of course, it's a few days away. We've got Memphis coming back. If you're watching right now and want to leave a comment, what do you think your prediction is for Italy versus the Netherlands? Mike, what do you think?
It's going to be a loss. I'd probably say about 3-0 to Italy. I think it's going to be really poor. I think our defence right now is all right, but I think Italy will target the wings, which are weak, and they'll overrun us at times. And I think it's going to be a bad one. Yeah, and that might be a good thing if you want to try and get De Boer out. But as I said, he'll have his excuses, and nothing will change. The KNVB don't change stuff. There's a comment saying that KNVB are the biggest national embarrassment in world football. Yeah, even after the Premier League stuff that came out today, probably, because they just don't change. They're just dinosaurs. They go with the same thing over and over and over again. So yeah, I can't see anything changing against Italy. I can see it being a bad defeat.
Yeah, I wonder whether that kind of thing might push the buttons of the KMVB. That did happen before. Was it France? Was it a 4-1 defeat against France, and it was one of the last games of one of the former managers? Am I remembering that correctly? Don't know if someone in the comments can just remind me what I'm thinking of there. But there was a particularly bad defeat, and it seemed like the end of the line for one of the managers at the time. A few of the comments saying that it'll be 2-0 Italy. I'm going to go with that as well. There'll be another defeat where the Netherlands can't score. The same problems are evident, but they're not hopeless defensively. They're not wide open like have been in the past. So maybe 1-0, 2-0 defeat again. It's going to be what the writing on the wall, sadly. But you never know. Things could change. Memphis could come back and lead us to victory. And Mike's comments is there. Was it Blint in the France match? Yeah, I think it was. That evening in particular was awful. Yeah, he lost 4-0 in France. I think it was Blint. Thanks for the comments, guys. I'm pretty sure that was the one. Anything else you want to add, Mike, to tonight's 0-0 draw? It feels like a defeat, doesn't it? But it was that disappointing. Anything else you want to add before we finish?
No, I think I've summed everything up. It's hard because after the Mexico game, a lot of people were saying, "All right, this is just one defeat. It's a friendly. It doesn't matter." They played some debutants. It'll be better against Bosnia, and we've seen it tonight. It's the same. It's the same against Mexico. First shot on target was in basically around the hour mark tonight. What with the British football was the defence passes it around to wait patiently for an attack, and you don't create very many chances, you don't score very many goals, and that's what we've seen so far. I think it's going to get worse. Players aren't. They say players will be used to this formation because this is a Dutch formation, but yeah, I think under Koeman they played a lot more expansively and a lot more exciting football. So yeah, players aren't used to this, and I think it's eventually going to tell. But not in time for the Euros. I think this is what we've got to look forward to for the next few months and until after the Euros. I think if it continues this way, and then that European Championship group is getting easier and easier because Romania got knocked out, so it's going to be North Macedonia or Georgia to complete the group. But yeah, even if they get through the group, they're not going to compete with the likes of Belgium, France, even England at the moment. Not a hope in hell playing like this. So yeah, I think we've got some dark times before things get better and the KFB wake up.
Yeah, a sad ending to another stream, which I hope many of you enjoyed watching with us, whether you're watching with us live or in the days after the game. Hopefully, the game is an improvement. I don't think either of us think that's likely at the moment, though. But there should be another live stream after the Italy games. Do join us then for that. Until then, try to have a few drinks and forget about tonight's performance. Bye for now.
Bye.